Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Ashley Brianna Eve, and I feel like you would have to be living under a rock to have not heard about what happened on Saturday Night Live with Amy Lou Wood. Now, there was this parody, this skit, where Amy felt it was very mean and unfunny. And I want to look at it actually through the lens of her astrology. Because I've seen people online say, well, she's a public figure, she should get thicker skin. Or other people say, well, why is it okay for us to make fun of certain people on SNL and not others? And I personally believe a dig at someone's looks is a low blow. For me, that is just, it is mean. It is unfunny. And in fact, other than little clips here and there, I don't think I've watched an SNL since I was like 17. So I don't find Saturday Night Live funny to begin with. I don't really believe making fun of people is funny, but other people do find that funny. So I do agree with her that it was mean and unfunny to do that parody. We're going to look at the Hollywood Reporter article. We're going to pull up her Instagram, and then we're going to do just a brief astrology reading on her chart. I've been doing astrology, I don't know, since I was a kid, honestly. From the time I can remember, I'd always be looking up the stars and reading the stars and talking to the stars. I even, for fun, studied astronomy in university as part of my undergrad credits. We had electives you had to take, and I thought it'd be so much fun to study Greek mythology, Roman history, and astronomy. So it's something that I've done for a really long time, and I love it. So we will dive into her astrology as well. But let's start here. White Lotus star Amy Lou Wood says SNL apologized for mean and unfunny parody. The 31-year-old actress posted to her Instagram that she found the sketch comedy show's portrayal of her by Sarah Sherman to be in poor taste. Amy Lou Wood, the British breakout star of The White Lotus season 3, said Saturday Night Live has apologized after unkindly parodying her during Saturday Night's show. In a pre-taped sketch dubbed The White Lotus, the NBC series spoofed Mike White's hit HBO series, swapping characters from the Thailand set third season with President Donald Trump, his family, and members of his cabinet. Interesting. I didn't realize that. Like I said, I don't watch it. Episode host John Hamm spoofed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. All right, so they set up this White POTUS scene, and then Sherman, who appeared to be wearing a pair of fake teeth in the sketch, had few lines but did say, "Fluoride, what's that? Oh, look, a monkey." Ooh. Wood took to Instagram on Sunday to clear up previous online speculation that someone at HBO had called her ugly, posting 2 Instagram stories explaining on something she noted in a previous interview before posting another that said, "But whilst in honest mode, I did find the SNL thing mean and unfunny, XO." The British actress added that she might delete the post later. So let's flip over to her Instagram. The stories are still live. So we'll have a look at a couple of her Instagram stories. So this is the one, while I'm being honest, I did find the SNL thing mean and unfunny. Whoops, we're going to go back a bit because I was just watching them. So it started us at the back. Hold on. We're almost there. All right. Story no longer available. HBO kind and supportive. They've never wronged me, so leave them alone. And then she calls NBC SNL mean. On a positive note, everyone is agreeing with me about it. So I'm glad I said something instead of going in on myself, which I believe she has every right to speak out about how she felt and how she was treated. So she shares some texts or DMs she got saying, "Don't delete it. It was mean and unfunny." So these are individuals that have just responded to her post. This one says, "Don't delete it. It was mean and unfunny, and saying it out loud removes their power. You're unreal in every way. I have a big gap in my teeth and an overbite, and you've genuinely made me feel so much better about myself. I was going to spend thousands on fixing it all, which is just not doing. Now I'm just not doing, because I look at you and think how gorgeous you look. So why not try and apply that logic to myself? So much love to you, Amy." And this is what it's all about, building a brand as well. And this is something I hammer all of the time. Some people are going to judge you, and some people, which is where a powerful brand comes from, they're going to build emotional resonance with you because of what you stand for. So this is something, Amy staying true to who she is and not changing who she is has inspired other people. And these are beautiful messages. Someone else wrote her, It was so mean. They all went for politicians except for you. Like, hello, is this high school? You deserve better, babe, because among that beautiful face and soul, that's all they chose to make fun of. Oh my God. Oh, and then she says, at least get the accent right. Seriously, I respect accuracy, even if it's mean. So she says she's getting thousands of messages agreeing with her, saying that it was good that she posted that. And now I want donuts because her stories have so many donuts in them. She also, my belly is literally growling. Thanks, Amy. As I scroll past all the donuts, I don't know if you guys can hear it on the mic, but my stomach is legit growling. She then says, I've had apologies from SNL. So it does look like they reached out and apologized. And she's just sharing her stories. And she says, last thing I'll say on the matter, I'm not thin skinned. And here's the thing, guys. No one should have to justify if they are or are not thin skinned, right? Being mean to someone shouldn't require the person on the other side having to justify their emotions. But here we are in this world where someone feels that other people did something mean against them and they feel like they have to justify it by saying, I'm not thin skinned. Girl, it's okay if you are. It's okay to have emotional depth. We're going to see that in her astrology chart. It's okay to be hurt by what people say. In fact, I would say this world needs more people that don't grow thick skin, that don't become hardened by the cruelty of this world. We need people to stay like this. So, I don't know if Amy will ever see this, but I'd love for her to see and know that you don't have to justify that because it's not bad to be quote unquote thin skinned. It means you're human. It means you haven't allowed the world to harden who you are and to change who you are. She says, I actually love being taken the piss out of when it's clever and in good spirits, but the joke was about fluoride. I have big gaps. I have a big gap and not bad teeth. I don't mind caricature. Sorry, words are hard today. I understand that's what SNL is, but the rest of the skit was punched up and Chelsea, was the only one punched down on. Okay, end of. She says, actually, one more thing. Not Sarah's, saying it wasn't Sarah's fault, not hating on her, hating on the concept. And someone else says it was a sharp and funny skit until it suddenly took a screeching turn into 1970s misogyny. And she says this sums up my view. And again, personally, I don't think someone should have to justify whether they're quote unquote thin skin or not. But let's look at her Instagram, or sorry, not her Instagram, her astrology. Now, I will say the reason why I was curious about bringing up her astrology is I saw a story she shared about Aries. It was talking about Aries. And so I expected her to be an Aries. So I almost fell over when I saw that she's an Aquarius. So I don't know. Maybe the internet has her wrong birth information or she was posting that just because. But from what I can find and her birth information that's available, she's an Aquarius. And so that right off the bat gives us so much insight into who she is. The first thing before I look at anything else, and I know there's a lot of people new to astrology. So what I'm going to do with this is take it a step back and describe it a little bit more in depth without going into the big concepts. So the first thing that I look at or think of with someone that has their sun in Aquarius, so we can see the symbol here, her sun in Aquarius, that's what this symbol is, a little like waves almost. That's a sensitive person. And so again, I find so many that have one, she has an undefined solar plexus in human design and her sun in Aquarius. So she is an Aquarius. So many, especially women, but men as well, feel like they have to justify their emotional depth, have to justify their emotions, have to justify who they are. But that is quite literally who you are. The first thing I think of when I look at her chart is what a sensitive person with emotional depth. And maybe that can be a struggle within her career and within her public life. We're going to see why in a minute. Now, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, and so it's unconventional. It's kind of this unexpected energy. And Aquarius is also going to be, also because ruled by Uranus, the sign of hopes, dreams, fantasy, friends, wishes. This is someone that's typically very down to earth, very charming, tends to be funny, but like in a relatable way, kind of in your best friend way, rather than comedian way. Like you want to be around an Aquarius. They're so relatable. There's this instant magnetism that you can't explain. and this uniqueness or unconventional nature about them. And so it just also leans into the fact that she didn't change anything about her. She's allowed it to be a part of her brand that speaks to her design ultimately. I'll pull up her human design very briefly before I let you guys go, but she is a manifesting generator 2-4 profile with an undefined solar plexus. So that's someone that's pulling in like all of the emotions of the world around them. And that can be hard at times to be a public figure and to be experiencing that kind of emotional depth. So again, when we're looking at the sun in Aquarius, this is someone that you're instantly magnetized to. They almost might seem like a little bit like a detached nature to them or aloofness. And it can seem like they're not as sensitive as they are because of that. They're not cold. It's just like aloof. You see this a little bit more for someone that's an Aquarius with a 6-line profile in their human design. They seem very aloof sometimes, almost distant. There's not that to her because she's a 2-4 in human design. So there is that like friendly, bubbly, best friend nature. Like she just feels like the natural. She's just who she is and being who she is. And you just fall in love with her because of it. So it is that aloofness of the Aquarius is almost, I want to say like humanized, but that's not the word I'm looking for with the 2-4. Maybe a little bit more magnetized because of the 2-4. You're just drawn to her. But they do operate. And one of the things I love about an Aquarius that is just living who they are is what makes them so damn magnetic is they are just being who they are. They almost feel like they're in a little bit of a different realm, a different way of moving through the world, which the second line, if we look at from the lens of Gene Keys, is the dancer. They seem to dance through life, just being who they are. And that's what magnetizes you to them. Now, some just like cool things. Lucky day of the week for an Aquarius is Wednesday, and random ass facts. And lucky numbers are 1 and 7. Now, one of the things I do notice with an Aquarius, and which can happen because we have, remember, like they're a little bit aloof, but also super magnetic. They're very unconventional. They're themselves. They're funny. They're charming. It's just that person you almost want to hate because you think like, how can you just be that cool and sweet and magnetic? You almost want to hate them. And evil people, mean people will use that as a reason to attack them. So you do often see that an Aquarius does become the subject of attacks from narrow-minded people. That is very common. And her Aquarius sun is in the 11th house, which does mean she's very sociable. Also, 4th line profile in human design. I can flip over and show you guys really quick her human design. So she's a 4th line profile. So when we combine the fact that we have the sun in 11th house, Aquarius, with a 4th line profile, that is someone that's very sociable. Now, 2-4 for her. She also likely needs time away. The 2 can also be that hermit. The 4 gets people fatigue. So we have someone that's inherently very emotional, has emotional depth, very magnetic, sociable, naturally attracts people to them, likely very, very much attracts very loyal friends and people close to her, but also has that hermit aspect, that 2 line, and that 4 of people fatigue. So being able to balance that is going to be critically important for her. And making sure she surrounds herself with like-minded people will be very important who support her and who she is and achieving her goals. People are going to be incredibly important to her life. Now, she's likely seen, I don't know much about her. I'm going to be honest. I don't watch White Lotus. She's likely seen this combination within human design as well as astrology, likely seen as someone's very loyal, very honest. And again, when we're looking at the sun in 11th house plus the 4th line is known as the networker in human design, benefits by leaning into her friends and her quote unquote network. But leaning into your friends that treat you really well, let's switch back, is going to be critically important, especially during this time, right? When we're looking at someone that has such emotional depth, leaning into that support network during a time like this where you feel genuinely hurt, and I believe she has every reason to feel genuinely hurt, can be important. Now we have the sun square the moon. So we have the sun up here. We have the moon, a Scorpio moon. Again, very sensitive person. This is because she has emotional depth. Remember how I said this is a sensitive person that has emotional depth. Now, others may not recognize the extent of that emotional depth. One, because of the placement of the sun, the aloofness. Also because that 2-4 energy just seems like she's the natural. She's just being who she is. It's just easy for her. and that Scorpio aspect to the moon. So people might not recognize it. And so there might even be this like energy of, well, one, Aquarius attracting rude comments, but two, like, oh, she can take it. Well, people shouldn't have to take it, right? People shouldn't have to just like buck up and put on a smiling face and be thicker skinned. Like I said, in fact, the world needs more people that are quote unquote thin skinned. And can I even ask when did being thin skinned become bad? Why is having emotional depth bad? We see this in the Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Justin Baldoni thing as well. It's like the emotional depth that Justin has is leveraged against him. It's not bad. So with that placement of the moon, we're looking at the sun square the moon. There's also probably an inner conflict between, the job she has or who she feels maybe she needs to be versus her emotional needs. There can be a challenge to trust your feelings and to be assertive, even if you feel like there might be backlash. Because again, when we look at her human design, she has that open solar or undefined solar plexus. So it can be that, oh, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to upset people. What's this going to do in my career if I say this thing and I go against like the SNL? What'll happen to me? So there's that inner conflict with the sun square the moon of, do I trust my feelings? And we saw that in her Instagram post. Do I say what I want to say? Or do I just like, just not rock the boat? I don't want to upset anyone. My career is taking off. My name's becoming a household name. Is it really worth it? And we saw in her Instagram post that she decided, yeah, it was worth it. And good for her. We also have the sun conjunct, both part of fortune and Venus. With this combination here for Amy, this can look like someone that's, again, very gentle, very loving, very charming. And that inner conflict of expressing herself in a way that's assertive and owning that assertiveness, and also living based on her values, building a brand based on her values, living a life based on like, this is what's important to me. And this is how I'm going to build a brand that's in alignment with what's important to me. Venus 11th house as well is really important in terms of friends again and attracting the right people. And she might potentially take on like a peacemaking role within groups. Like people just naturally see her as a calming energy. Someone see her as someone that is almost like the anchor of the group of friends, very loyal, has your back. And I feel like that also inspires people to be loyal and have her back right now. So I have no doubt that she has a really great group of friends that has her back through this at this time. All right, I'm trying to keep them short to go over the things that really stand out, but I do love her energy in her chart. And I just have such a soft spot for someone that has this type of energy, to be quite honest. I just want them to know that it's okay to be who you are and it's okay to have that depth. All right. The other aspect that really stands out for me is when we're looking at her sun, it's semi-square Lilith orb. So we have the sun here and we have Lilith in the 12th house. And when we're looking at that combination, Lilith is the dark goddess energy. She's can be the disruptor. She's looking at almost the taboo aspects of self. This does show us a life that can be characterized by significant transformative phases. And it's usually initiated by facing something that happens in the external world that's pushing you to grow. And so we could actually look at this situation here as an opportunity to go deeper into her brand and deeper into the values, Sun conjunct Venus, deeper into her values and what she's a stand for. And the more she can go into her values and what she's a stand for right now and really solidify what's important to her, what she stands for, what's important to her brand, she has the ability right now to really stand out in a powerful way with people who see themselves within her. Because building a brand, no matter what industry you're building a brand in, you need to create emotional resonance with people. And others that might have felt like the black sheep or picked on or kicked out because of a certain physical feature that they spent their entire life thinking they had to fix, and they just needed someone to say, hey, it's okay to be you. She has a really big opportunity if she wants to take it. Not everyone wants to go down that road, but she does have an opportunity here. And it requires standing up in the face of conflicts with that square Lilith. Lilith has had, she was Adam's first wife when we look at the mythology and history of Lilith, and she refused to, quite literally be under Adam, and she got kicked out of the Garden of Eden. So that's someone that stands in their values and isn't afraid to stand for who they are and what they believe in. But there is also that external conflict when we're looking at Lilith in this position, especially semi-square the sun, that is going to open you up to this place of that internal voyage, that internal journey, inviting you to confront those pieces of yourself that haven't been integrated, those shadow pieces of self that haven't been integrated. And it doesn't mean that the emotions you're experiencing are wrong. It's just going deeper. Is like, okay, if this really did hurt, where are there aspects within me that maybe I haven't really fully accepted or integrated or really come to terms with? Not saying that's the case with her. This position can just be that invitation of more of those existential insights and expanding your spiritual growth and spiritual horizon. I'm such a big fan of that kind of placement because I love Lilith energy. So I love strong placements for it as well. But again, we have someone deep emotional depth. Actually, we do have the moon square Venus. Now that I look at that again, which can be difficulty expressing your feelings in relationship. There might be, again, looking at human design as well, undefined solar plexus, a fear of rocking the boat. And when we look at the Hollywood Reporter, they talk about how she initially said, I might delete this later. And that can be that inner turmoil, right? Do I say this? Is it okay to express myself? What will people think if I express myself? But that feeling of like almost you can't relax and be yourself fully because what's going to be the backlash can be that square is going to be that push pull, right? It's a tension, it's a harder energy, that values versus emotions, that especially when we're looking at the 11th house for the sun and Venus. Do you stand in your feelings and who you are? However, with the moon square Venus, once you've learned to reveal your feelings from the heart, right? It's not because you're trying to be an ass and put people down, but like from the heart, this is who I am. That's where that growth is. And again, from a branding perspective, can be a really powerful place to wave the white flag for your people and for kind of the black sheep and the outcasts that finally feel seen by you. I think we're really in an era where people they're sick of the overly curated, overly polished. They want real. People want to be able to connect with someone that isn't quote unquote perfect, that doesn't appear to have it all together. And I really believe that more and more right now, we're going to be seeing those that honor the messier aspects of self stand out at the end of the day. An interesting aspect as well is Moon oppose Sedna. So this opposition with Sedna is really interesting. And when we're looking, so this is Sedna here in Taurus, 12 degrees Taurus. That can be a really emotionally potent combination. Again, it's this like emotional equilibrium, the lunar realms of feelings and memories, habits, nurturing, holding that while also honoring that the almost currents of society. Because Sedna is going to be, it's more of like these big patterns within society. How do you hold and stay true? It's almost like that anchor. How do you hold true and keep that guiding light within you, that North Star within you of this is who I am. These are my feelings. Again, feelings comes up over and over and over again in her astrology chart. How do I navigate that? How do I navigate this internal realm, this inner landscape, this emotional depth while I'm also navigating what's going on externally? I would say someone like this, probably drawn to like water. This is someone that I'd say, not necessarily meditate in your house. Go out, put your feet in a stream, go for a swim in the ocean. This is someone that I would be sending out with water, honestly, especially setting on this position, oppose the moon to get grounded. So if you've ever had someone just say, oh, go meditate, go sit down, meditate, and it doesn't work for you, it can be a sign in your chart or even just listening to your soul. You don't even have to break down your astrology chart of how best do you anchor into who you are. And for her, coming back in alignment with that lighthouse, deeply connect to her rhythms, her cyclical patterns of life, what's important to her, her inner feelings, her habits, her way of nurturing herself and others, I would say water is going to be really important for her. We also have the moon square part of fortune. So we saw the part of fortune conjunct the sun in Aquarius. Again, say it with me now, emotions, right? This can be someone that has that potential conflict and challenges between your pursuit of happiness and especially pursuit within career and emotional well-being. So this is where when I see people say, just like suck it up and she has a public career and, get thicker skin, which really irritates me because that's not who she is. And why can't we honor the fact that everybody is different? Everyone has a different way of processing. And if someone feels something is mean, instead of gaslighting them, telling them that they shouldn't be hurt because of it, how do we say, okay, I'm sorry and I can do better? And hopefully that's what SNL did. I'm sorry, we will do better. Instead of gaslighting and someone to believe that their feelings are wrong. So when we're looking at that square part of fortune, again, it's that struggle, that tension between external goals, the external world, and emotional depth. And so, yeah, I really believe that this is probably very much highlighted for her with a career in the public eye, a career as an actress, and the emotional depth and sensitivities that come with being who she is. So I would, someone like Amy, I'd be saying, really getting clear on what does happiness mean to you? What does success mean to you? And having that almost thoughtful reflection on pursuing joy and what joy means to her rather than what the external world has told her joy should mean to her or how she should show up. And then seeking a more balanced, harmonious life, a fulfilling life that supports her emotional health and emotional well-being as well. Because you don't need to fix yourself if you are emotional. You do not need to fix yourself. You are not broken if you have quote unquote thin skin. You're human. There's nothing wrong with being human. Now, the interesting thing as well for her, I love her energy. In the 10th house, we have Uranus and Neptune. So there is this being of service through your profession and honoring her uniqueness through her profession. So I think being an actress fits so perfectly with this. It's, you get to be of service in a way, you get to entertain people. And she also gets to leverage her uniqueness. Now, Neptune conjunct the white moon. So this is the white moon right next to Neptune. This is someone that's very in touch, like with their intuition, a deep understanding of how things work because they're connected to their emotions, because they're connected to their creativity through their emotions. So it's following your intuition. She obviously followed her intuition. This is career. She obviously followed her intuition and how to handle the situation. And I personally think she handled it great. So, there's this beautiful kind of dance within her chart of honoring her emotional depth, honoring her feelings, not making them wrong, and also navigating the external world of the career she chose. But I genuinely don't think anyone should have to change who they are. The last thing I'm going to say that I quickly want to mention is Lilith in the 12th house. One of the things I always say with Lilith in the 12th house is, man, you're a sensitive soul. When I was growing up, I was always called a bleeding heart. You can't save the world. Bleeding heart's going to kill you one day. That's, again, not something bad. She's very sensitive when we have Lilith there in that connection. And there can be almost this back and forth with this position of closing yourself off because you don't want to be hurt, not having deep connections because you don't want to be hurt by others. But believe it or not, usually I say this to Lilith, Pisces, in this position within the 12th house. Some people believe it, some people don't. Some people it takes time to really accept. But believe it or not, you're highly sensitive, highly attuned, very intuitive. And this is someone that's reacting through their feelings rather than applying reason. So can we have someone with a Lilith in Pisces 12th house truly accept that part of their nature, truly accept who they are, truly accept their emotional depth so that they can connect, one, with the right people, but two, build that brand and success within the external world that doesn't sacrifice their emotional well-being? This is not someone, there are some people where you're like, they're just built to have tough skin and not give a shit. That's not who she is. Now, one of the important pieces here is also integrating those shadow aspects because we also don't want to always be almost reacting or reactionary to everything people say because it's hurtful. Not saying that's what happened here, but integrating those shadow aspects can be incredibly important. And like we said previously, can also be that signpost for her on where she can maybe do a little bit of healing. So I would say overall, Amy has a beautiful opportunity to show us that being a sensitive person isn't wrong, standing up for yourself isn't wrong, and holding your boundaries and saying where you've been hurt and the expectations you have and how you are treated should not be made as a poor character trait. It just blows my mind, and you shouldn't have to justify it. So my hope for this situation is not just that she gets the apology that's owed to her, but we also understand that everyone is incredibly different. That's why I love human design. That's why I love astrology. Everyone is incredibly different. And can we honor our differences without judging people for them, without making people wrong for them, without telling people to just suck it up and get tougher, without telling people that their emotional depth and emotional landscape is wrong? And I think going for people's looks is a low blow. You are punching down for that. Like, be funnier, hold yourself to a higher standard. If you have to go for someone's looks, maybe the joke isn't actually that funny, and maybe it is just objectively mean. That's all I got to say about that. I hope you guys enjoyed. You can book your own astrology reading at the link in the show notes here. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.